Greetings, parish orphans and retrogrades. Welcome to the show. Today, we comment, as the country comments, on J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States, responding to the USCCB on the new Trump policy on the freeze of monies to NGOs such as USCCB's Catholic Charities. So freeze by President Trump on funding to Catholic charities because they are formally cooperating in the breaking of the law, the violation of our border. Thomas Aquinas says this is a breach of the fourth commandment. President Donald Trump has reportedly signed an executive order ending funding to non-governmental organizations like Catholic Charities, allegedly bringing foreign nationals illegally into the U.S. Caroline Leavitt, the new White House press secretary, told reporters on Tuesday evening, I'm reading from a LifeSite article up today, in response to questions about the end to funding of such NGOs, the questioner alleged Catholic Charities was one of them, that she was sure the president had signed an executive order that did just that. In addition to this, Vice President J.D. Vance has been responding to the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. He said, as a practicing Catholic, I was actually heartbroken by that statement by the USCCB, which condemns the United States sovereignty at the border. The USCCB seems to think that the grave matter of violating the national sovereignty of our nation by lawbreakers who enter the country illegally is some sort of virtue, and that the vice of breaking the law to enter a country illegally is a virtue. Let me address this particular issue, he continued. As a practicing Catholic, I was actually heartbroken by that statement. And I think that the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops needs to actually look in the mirror a little bit and recognize that when they receive over $100 million from the U.S. government to help resettle illegal immigrants, they are worried about humanitarian concerns. Is this true, he's saying? Or are they actually worried about their own bottom line? They got $100 million to resettle illegal immigrants. We're going to enforce immigration law. We're going to protect the American people. This is up on Catholic Standard. When earlier, Justice Brennan had suggested that such a change involved by the new law, which takes away sanctuary places, sensitive places like church, as being a place where ICE agents can no longer arrest illegal aliens, lawbreakers. Justice Brennan had suggested that such a change has a chilling effect to people not to send their kids to school. Here's what Vance replied. I desperately hope it has a chilling effect on illegal immigrants coming into our country. Let me add this to what J.D. Vance responded. I hope that this regulatory change has a chilling effect on illegal immigrants feeling welcome to use our American resources, such as public education, hospitals, I guess in non-emergency situations, and the like, our welfare services. I hope it has a chilling effect on that, parish orphans and retrogrades. And I'm glad that J.D. Vance, good first week, surprisingly good first week by him and Trump. I hope they continue talking tough and saying, I hope it has a chilling effect. I hope the illegals stay in their own damned countries. That's what I hope. And they get them in order. I wish them the best. You know, a lot of these Mexicans from Mexico are fellow Catholics. Well, they're breaking the law, so for their sakes, I want them to stop doing so. But I want them to stay in their own countries and get their countries in order. In a statement January 26th regarding its work with the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program, which did not name Vice President Vance, here's what the USCCB said. Ready for this? It's rich. Faithful to the teaching of Jesus Christ, the Catholic Church has a long history of serving refugees. Jesus Christ never once encouraged the breaking of sovereign international boundaries. It's sovereign international diplomatic immunity principle by violating the borders or urging people to violate borders when it was illegal.
And also, Christ owns everything and in the universe, so he could literally not be a refugee anywhere. He can go wherever he wants.
Yeah, the lawmaker's not subject to the laws. But this wasn't even, he didn't violate any national laws by entering Egypt. That's not what happened. He was seeking to escape an unjust, as a true refugee, the Holy Family sought to escape murder at the hands of their home country. Here's what the USCCB said. In 1980, the bishops of the United States began partnering, they didn't say this, very profitably for the USCCB, with the federal government to carry out this service when Congress created the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program, said the statement. Every person resettled through USRAP, U.S. Refugee Admissions Program, is vetted and approved for the program by the federal government while outside of the United States. In our agreements with the government, the USCCB receives funds to do this work. However, these funds are not sufficient to cover the entire cost of these programs. Nonetheless, this remains a work of mercy and ministry of the church. Now, this is not clear that it's a work of mercy to help people to violate just national law. Not clear at all. In the fiscal year 2024, there's a report that, quote, more than $3 trillion of the nearly $10 trillion spent by the federal government was federal financial assistance such as grants and loans. And we have this White House acting director of the Office of Management and Budget on the 27th. He issued a memorandum that hit the pause button on federal financial assistance. Matthew Vance told the heads of executive departments and agencies that they must identify and review all the federal financial assistance programs and supporting agency activities consistent with the president's policies and requirements. He said, for example, during the initial days of his administration, President Donald J. Trump issued a series of executive orders to protect the American people and safeguard valuable taxpayer resources, including protecting the American people against invasion from January the 20th, the day Trump took office. Catholic Charities USA has responded to the White House decision by asking publicly for a reconsideration of freeze on aid for nonprofit service organizations. Now, when you see the obscene amounts of basically profit they're making, I mean, they're nonprofit, but it's profit at that level of obscene money, obscene volumes of cash just being dumped on them by a corrupt, bloated Biden administration, beginning well before the Biden administration. Of course, they want it to continue because it benefits them. So they're claiming, you know, the basic needs thing, 92% of what they cover is basic needs. Okay, but there's a lot that needs debunking here. Recently, Father Jerry Murray, one of the people we've often, 100% of the time, laudingly cited on this show. When his name comes up, I always agree with him. He had to debunk Father James Martin, SJ, the naughty pet. The naughty pet, after hours. He had to debunk Father James Martin. And he had to debunk the USCCB, which made claims on immigration and deportations. He said this: if we let every single poor person from the world into our country, we would destroy the United States as a society, and that is certainly not an obligation. In fact, that would be a neglect on the part of our government. Now, the fact that this has to be explained to people nowadays shows such a failure on the basic grammar school civics education of the average idiot out there that it's laughable, it's risible that he even had to say it. He rebuked Father James Martin's claims on immigration. Now I'm on a LifeSite article up today also. Father James Martin's claims on immigration and mass deportations, explaining that the Catholic Church recognizes a nation's right to determine its immigration policy. In an interview with Catholic radio host Joe McClain, canon lawyer Father Murray responded to a viral video by Martin, which reached over 2.7 million views on Twitter. In the video message, Martin claimed that Catholics need to care for migrants and refugees because Jesus himself was a refugee, because Joseph took the Blessed Virgin Mary and Jesus to Egypt to avoid Herod's murderous plans. Martin spoken out against deportations and Trump's immigration policies multiple times in the past, implying that it was unchristian to deport illegals. Similarly, the USCCB called the Trump administration's immigration policy deeply troubling. No, it's deeply troubling is $100 million to you, to line your pockets for encouragement, aiding, abetting, formally cooperating with the breaking of this nation's sovereignty.